There's BTC, let me read that again. Plebsy, I like it. Good morning, friends. T-Dog Yo-Yo. Good morning, Bitcoiners. P-Man Van. Hope you had a good Labor Day weekend in Montreal, P-Man. Hope everything's going great. Let me just give you all a confirmation. It's quite foggy out, but through the fog, I can see that the sun's up. And guess what? Bitcoin's running. All that's left for us to do is have a coffee and talk about what's new. Well, I had a great weekend. We were at the Brome Fair, which is a great time. Kids got to see all kinds of animals, got to run around. It was the best. We had a great weekend, all kinds of fun stuff. Around these parts, it's the making a coffee as we speak. Well, you don't have to do it at the same time. We don't force anyone to drink coffee at the same time. Jevy, we're good. Look at everyone pouring in. There we go. Morning, Bitcoiners. Hey, bud. Sats for life. Christine, hope you're doing well. Hope everyone's doing great. But let's get into some Moscow time, right? We don't need to hear too much about the weekend. It was a great time. Let's move on. The whole world's moving on. That's what we're going to talk about today. How much the world has actually moved on this weekend. Everything happened this weekend. Nothing happened. There was zero news, but everything happened. So let's get into it. So we're going to start off with a little, the fakest news I could find. I shared this one yesterday because we weren't able to go live. But I just got to get it on the record. I got to read it into the record, right? I can't just have it as a tweet, right? And this one, another one of those ones they could actually put in the museum one day for how fake news can actually get, right? So we've been talking about these carjackings that go on, right? Well, the New York Times had to mention Kia and Hyundai helped enable the crime wave, everyone, right? They should pay for it. Of course, the car makers are responsible for the cars getting stolen. Who else would be responsible, right? They made the cars. They're done. This one's pretty good. This was shared by a Breakup joiner, letting us know a new group we have to worry about, right? I couldn't quite tell how real this news was, right? I looked through the sources and stuff, but that's the point of Moscow time. Is it real or is it fake? You tell me, right? Here's the actual headline. Anti-chippers are the latest group of awful people we now have to worry about. Now, it could be a fake headline because it's so on the nose, right? So I can't guarantee this is a real news headline, but it fits. It's pretty good. Anti-chippers, right? Now, the cars that are getting stolen and all that, right? Well, California has a theft problem in all of their pharmacies and many stores. Everything has to go behind lock and key, right? Well, you'd think they'd want some solutions, but I don't know, right? There's a new bill here's a headline from the Enterprise Record. Stop retail theft, ? This bill would promote it. There's a bill in California that will make it illegal for non-professional security staff of a store to intervene in the case of a robbery, and will actually fine them $18,000. So that's a step in the right direction for California, right? Now, if you didn't see this weekend, you got to see this video, Latinos for Trump. It's just an amazing song, actually. And so all of a sudden, because of the mugshot, right? The Trump mugshot, a lot of people saying maybe because he was unfairly indicted and fake crimes and all that, that maybe some people who had a similar experience might start identifying with him a little better. What they let us know on MSNBC is no way. Some conservatives are claiming that Trump's arrest made him more appealing to black folks. But that's a bigoted and desperate claim, guys. At the same time, because of this Latinos for Trump hip-hop song, MSN also has to remind us that at one time, Obama loomed large in hip-hop culture, and they actually put together a list of his most memorable lines, hip-hop's most memorable lines about Barack Obama. Some of the songs were pretty good, right? None of them were as good as the Latino for Trump song. You got to hear it. It's amazing. And then they hit him with the Rico. So good. Just the best. Well, that's what we got today. I got two more. Let me get to them. This one's pretty good. This is a German one. Remember what we've said before, right? Although I think the finalists for stupidest people in the world are between the Canadians, Australians, and New Zealanders. The Germans, they could make the podium, in a weird thing, fourth place, but they could really get to first if they focused and put some German ingenuity into it. They could win the gold. They could. And this is a step in the right direction here. So the Chancellor of Germany, Scholz, rejected a call for a revival of the dead horse of nuclear power. He called it a dead horse, right? So Germany, let's see how they do. And this one's great. This is a great one. All right, this we're going to lead into our theme and story for the day. So Newsweek, this is an actual Newsweek headline, right? FBI knew Ukrainian spy was at the Capitol riot. They knew. It's just, there you go. They just knew, right? And indeed, that's what a lot of people have been talking about today. One of the most amazing things that happened this weekend. Now, there was a lot of things that happened this weekend, although nothing you would see in the normal news, but a lot did happen. One of the things that happened was Laura Loomer went to get her hair done. Right. So who's Laura Loomer? First of all, Laura Loomer rushed our stage in Bitcoin 2021 in Miami to talk about how, because we had what's his name, the guy who created Twitter, Jack Dorsey. We had Jack Dorsey on stage that year, and because Jack Dorsey was on stage that year, Laura Loomer had already been banned from Twitter altogether. So she came in and rushed the stage and got a mic and bullhorn or something and was able to announce to the world that, indeed Jack Dorsey was not great, and but, everyone has their story, right? And I always thought Laura Loomer had the right to talk about her story. And I've always been a fan, actually, of Laura Loomer. Now she goes to get her hair done this weekend, and what does she come across in Orlando but a group of neo-Nazis, right? So there's a group of neo-Nazis there, and they got the swastikas, they got the flags, they're all dressed up, and she actually interviews them, right? And she gets them on tape saying they love Joe Biden and he's doing so much for Ukraine. But they actually caught one guy, and you got to see this guy. They call him Boneface. So his whole face is a tattoo of bones. And he's one of the most demonic and weird looking people you're ever going to see. Like, I mean, straight out of a demonic pit. Right. So this guy comes in and he's like Heiling Hitler and all this kind of stuff. Like, he's right out there. But it turns out he was the actual guy that the QAnon shaman said was a Ukrainian agent already at the January 6th thing. And we've now surfaced all kinds of interviews. This Boneface guy's done a ton of media. He's been on Russia Today saying, no, you got it wrong. It wasn't the FBI that sent me to January 6th and to Ukraine. It was the CIA. So that's on tape. So it turns out that this has been known for a while. And now, because of Boneface and his pretty identifiable face, we can now tell that this indeed is the case. There were people put into this group in January 6th. We don't know the numbers, but he was clearly there. He's photographed directly with the QAnon shaman. There's like a selfie of the two of them together. So, and now I will also add one note that Zero Sum 24, the Sim Warlord, one of the best accounts on Twitter, by the way. If you don't follow it, mostly private, so you'll never get any of their stuff, and you'll take videos down if it's shared too widely. You got to go on his Telegram. He runs one of the most able and capable video and breaking news, see through the fog of war accounts on the X app. And he says he had proved this stuff before Laura Loomer. So he did a bit of a thing this weekend where Laura Loomer's kind of taking credit. Maybe she glows, he was even saying, right? Maybe she glows in the sense that, oh, you were just going to get your hair done in Orlando and you happened to run across these neo-Nazis. So the Zero Sum 24 said she's jumping on a story or whatever. But anyway, in the end, he said she's great. And I'm just, he was just being a little egotistical, let's say, trying to get credit for it. But I'm a fan of both accounts. And I do indeed think Zero Sum 24 is way ahead of Laura Loomer on this. But Laura Loomer has a different audience and a much wider reach, I think, than Zero Sum 24. So this is what turns out. This is Laura Loomer saying, now that I have exposed Ukrainian Nazis working with the CIA and FBI, let me show you how this isn't a one-time thing. Let me show you how our government is working with Ukrainian neo-Nazis to instigate conflict in America and recruit white supremacist movements, both domestically and internationally. You should see all the pictures they're coming up with this guy. It's crazy. The bone face. Right? So on January 6th, the known Ukrainian neo-Nazi spy was identified in front of the U.S. Capitol and additionally confirmed by a Ukrainian spy by the FBI in an interview with January 6th defendant Jacob Chansley, the American shaman, also known as the QAnon shaman. I personally spoke to Jacob, and he confirmed to me that the FBI told him during an interview with him and his lawyer that the person he was pictured with at the Capitol on January 6th was in fact a known Ukrainian spy. So looks like this stuff's been going on for a while. And she goes in to say, interestingly enough, this guy's name, so Boneface, his actual name is Sergei Dibinin. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. He was also photographed with McCain, Lindsey Graham, a bunch of other people. And she asks, is our government using Ukrainian spies and neo-Nazis to instigate a political conflict and falsely accuse Trump supporters of being white supremacists? That's the question she asks, right? I believe that I have uncovered something massive, and I just happened to be in the right place at the right time this weekend in Altamonte Springs, Florida. Our government appears to be using Ukrainian Nazis and American Nazis as confidential informants to recruit more Nazis to fight in the Ukraine-Russia war, and by doing so, they are endangering the lives of American citizens and compromising our national security. And now she goes further because everyone's saying that headline that I read from Newsweek about the confirmation of neo-Nazis being in January 6th. Just this little thing. They just got some FBI informants who are also white supremacists. Just happened to be at the January 6th thing. So what she says here is, she goes, of course, Operation Mockingbird Media Newsweek has to downplay what I just exclusively exposed. So I guess this is why Zero Sum is taking a bit of issue with her. All this talk of exclusively. Like I said, if you follow Zero Sum 24, you'd have seen a lot of this stuff before, right? So he had been picking up on Boneface and a few of these other ones. He even says Boneface is like a year-old story. I don't know if that's true. I hadn't really seen much of Boneface before, but I have seen the face that he has when he doesn't have the tattoos. Now, strangely, it looks. You remember in the first Batman movie when Joker has to put makeup on because the Joker skin is his real skin and he has to wipe away the makeup. It kind of reminds you of that. Some of these pictures you see him without the bone face tattoos makes it look like he puts makeup on top. But anyway, amazing thing that Boneface tattooed his face like that, so he's so easily identifiable, right? And as I said, demonic, like straight from the pit of hell, right? So here's what Laura Loomer said. So she says, what I just exclusively exposed to soften the blow about the FBI concealing the fact that a Ukrainian spy penetrated the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, and in January 6th was interrogated over it. It was suspected before the Ukrainians were at the Capitol, but I exposed that the FBI privately confirmed it during an interrogation of a U.S. citizen who was jailed over January 6th. They completely failed to mention that I broke this story, so she's going on here about getting her credit, but that, again, not that important. There was no public interview. Newsweek is characterizing it this way to downplay my investigation. Newsweek needs to issue a clarification. Zero Sum 24, yeah, I think that's what it's called, Zero Sum 24 Veterans. If not, I can tag him. Simulation Warlord, I think, is the name, and then the handle is Zero Sum 24. But let me just make sure. I don't mind making sure for you guys because he's a great follow. I mean, really a great follow. Gets a lot of the spicy, or maybe not. I mean, it's not Zero Sum. All right. Well, I'll share it with you guys later because I sometimes do have trouble finding it. So I'll share that with you guys later. Great follow, and always has tons of spicy takes, as he calls it. So, but that's not just one, right? So now we know the FBI had, or the CIA or the FBI had spies at January 6th. These are the same people they've been sending over for Zero Sum 2.0. Is that it? Yeah. I don't think that's it. But Simulation Warlord 2.0 is somewhere in there. But anyway, guys, I will find it and I'll share it with you. If you don't know who he is, I will find it today and put it in my Twitter handle. I think I've quoted him before, but I'll share it again with you. So that's just one story, right? We see this part of the operation. Now, what we got a board today. We got a bit of a board, right? We got a bit of a board. I'll show you what it is here. And it's our theme for the day, right? A broken fog of war machine. And basically the machine that launders information and that it divides Americans and divides people around the world has been operating more or less like this for a long time. Now, not everyone has been aware of that, right? There are still people who believe this is like an independent thing generated by people with like university degrees, and they're smart and they have an opinion, and everyone just is arguing about opinions, and that's all the news is, right? That's what the innocent people say. What we've come to understand it is it's all fake. All not a little bit, not there's a little bit of fake mixed in with some people talking. No. The whole machine, all of it, right? And you can tell just from this weekend how many parts of the machine are actually broken, right? The fog of war machine is what I call it, because for a long time we have been in a complete fog of war about all this stuff, right? You're sort of, you don't have the proof, you have a feeling and whatever. But now the proof is starting to become so obvious that it isn't about feelings, and you really can, without equivocating or anything, just look at people who have opinions that fall into this, that if they believe any of this stuff, you have to just have a kind of empathy, as hard as it is to conjure, about what has been done to them by this fog of war machine. Now, the good news is many of us have broken through the fog of war machine. Of course, we know. But it's becoming easier and easier to do. It feels like a bit of a pendulum swing over the weekend. So we're going to get into a few of the ways this was broken, right? So CIA and FBI parts, easy for most people to understand. I would say that wasn't one where it was a big surprise, right? Boneface is only part of it, right? Boneface is just a small part of this. But you're starting to see how the operatives work with the media. So it's not just these agents, right? There are other people. And one of the best ones that was destroyed, I think, over the weekend, like maybe you don't even need to think about him anymore as a player on the board. And that's Phil Bump, right? So who's Phil Bump? He's a nobody who just writes for the Washington Post. But he tried, so he's a normal mainstream media journalist. So he went on a podcast last week, right? It didn't go very well. It didn't go well. What happened to him? Well, he was asked questions about Joe and Hunter Biden, about what went on there, right? So the journalist, right, or the podcast host doesn't seem political. Like, this wasn't a Trump guy, right? He asked him some simple questions, right? And said, well, what do you think about Hunter and what could he have done? And was any of it so bad? And sorry, was it, why did they suppress the laptop? So this Phil Bump guy starts trying to deflect. I don't know. I didn't look, right? In the end, though, instead of answering any of the questions about Hunter and Joe and showing the least bit of curiosity and interest, he just decides to try to get out of the interview and says, I have no idea what that means. I feel like you want me to walk out. So he starts starting, and indeed, he does end the interview. He ends it right there. Cernovich says about it, right? This is why reporters don't do podcasts. Guy on the left, believe it or not, works at the WAPO. He's talking about Phil Bump, right? Watch him first lie, then claim ignorance before finally rage quitting, right? So again, one of the best things you can do now is when people are caught lying, you have to watch someone. When you know someone is lying and you catch them lying, one of the best tricks you can use in the world is by seeing how they lie. Once you see their tells, like in poker, right? It's kind of like in poker. Now, I'm a terrible poker player, by the way, because I have no ability to hide my happiness about a good hand. So I don't have a poker face, and I don't even pretend I do, right? Not a poker player. I'm much better at like Settlers of Catan when it's like negotiation and manipulation. And poker's a little different. I can't hide my pleasure about some stuff. So indeed, right, when you can watch this guy do it, when you watch this guy operate, you see how he lies. Now, this is the fella. If you don't know who Phil Bump is, he is actually the guy who propagated the drinking bleach hoax, right? One of the stupidest hoaxes you'll ever see. That's the one where they said that Trump told Americans to drink bleach if they get COVID, right? That one, right? That we all know is a hoax. Of course, he said inject a whatever it was called, sunlight. What is it called again when you disinfectant, and to inject a disinfectant. And of course, there was a technique and a procedure, and I knew about it before Trump even said it, which is light, right? You can inject light, not bleach. Right? And of course, you do bleach things with light, right? You bleach things in the sun and all that. So this guy, Phil Bump, is the guy who used the Washington Post, according to this fog of war machine, to show that Trump said drink bleach, which never happened, right? Not only that, he wrote a 1-year anniversary article about Trump telling Americans to drink bleach, right? Analysis: 1 year ago today, Trump cemented his coronavirus legacy by promoting a novel treatment, right? So he goes with that, right? So this is the guy who said injecting disinfectant was Trump telling people to drink bleach. Now, this is not a lie. Sorry, this is not a mistake. This is a lie, right? This is a lie designed to inflict damage. This is a lie designed to create a fog of war situation around American politics, coronavirus, whatever you want to call it, right? Phil Bump might get dropped from space. So this is a type of operative, right, that you got to test. You got to test whether or not they can fly. Mockingbirds, you got to see if they can fly. There's just no other way. The people who are in the Mockingbird group have to be dropped, and he's got to go. He's got to go, right? So he's been out there doing this kind of shit, and it's been a while now. And for anyone to take him seriously, and indeed, Cernovich is right. This is why they can't go on podcasts. They can't handle a single punch. And that should be, I think, encouragement to all of us, right? It's just like in Paradise Lost, the Milton play about the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve, Satan. In the end, when the angels come to deal with Satan, he's weak. He's very weak. He talks a big game, but the minute you step to him, he cowers like a baby, right? And I think that's what we're dealing with here. I think the minute you push these people a little bit, they collapse. Phil Bump can't handle the least bit of questioning. And I think that really is where we're at. That's why I do believe the fog of war machine is broken. We see much more clearly, and coincidentally, or simulation winkily, the fog has been clearing the entire time we've been talking here. It was so foggy outside now, and the sun is burning the fog away, and we're starting to get a clear view outside here of where I'm looking. And that's kind of what happened this weekend, right? We had almost no news, but everything changed. That I was offline, but what I see is an actual pendulum swing. The CIA boneface story. We have the Phil Bump and the Washington Post clearly coming out with this. But the best one, the most brilliant one we got all weekend was this Anti-Defamation League. The group that really should be out there defending Jews who do suffer a lot all the time from anti-Semitism, right? Anti-Semitism is a real thing. Al Sharpton was all into it. He ran a pogrom a couple of years ago in Brooklyn, right? Everyone knows about what he did in the 1990s when a Hasidic Jew, I think, accidentally killed an African American, and things got out of control in Crown Heights, Brooklyn afterwards. A tragic situation from the start, but it didn't deserve the kind of violence that came out afterwards, right? And Al Sharpton was right in the middle of it, right? Al Sharpton right in the middle of that whole thing, egging it on, right? So Tablet Magazine actually wrote an article this weekend about how unbelievable it is that he's become this sort of scion of the Anti-Defamation League. So that's just one part of it. But the main part of this Anti-Defamation League story is that Elon Musk is about to launch a Twitter Files or X Files or whatever just on the ADL, and it's function as a instrument in the fog of war machine. And this could change a lot, right? So this is what's happening. Well, first of all, let me just get the piece where it starts here. Yeah, okay. So this is from Mario Nawfal. So Mario says, Elon hints he will release a giant data dump of censorship requests by the ADL, trying to censor certain accounts on Twitter/X. This is in reply to Libs of TikTok, who is expressing concern about thousands of users who have been suspended, throttled, silenced, and shadow banned. This comes minutes after Elon Musk announced he will file a defamation lawsuit against the Anti-Defamation League, claiming they would potentially be on the hook for destroying half the value of the company. $22 billion. He said he's going to be nice and just put it at 10%, so it's only going to be a $4 billion law case. I think he wins. I think he wins here if he can prove all this stuff. So here's what we get, right? He says to clear out our platform's name in the matter of anti-Semitism, it looks like we have no choice but to file a defamation lawsuit against the Anti-Defamation League. Oh, the irony, he says. And he says, so it'll be 22 billion, right? But he changes his mind. He says, based on what we've heard from advertisers, ADL seems to be responsible for most of our revenue loss. Giving them maximum benefit of the doubt, I don't see any scenario where they're responsible for less than 10% of the value destruction, so 4 billion. Document discovery of all communications between the ADL and advertisers will tell the full story. So it goes on, right? There's this guy, what's his name? Rosenblatt. So Rosenblatt tries to go on one of the TV shows, this like CNBC or Squawk Box or something, and tries to sort of defend himself, right? That did not go well either. Tucker Carlson comes out and calls the CEO, Jonathan Greenblatt, an apparatus of the Democrat Party. The ADL was such a noble organization that had a very specific goal, which was once to fight anti-Semitism. Now it's operated by a guy who is just an apparatus of the Democrat Party. So I guess this guy Rosenblum actually worked for the Obama administration, right? So Sticks, Hex, and Hammer says, how dare you criticize a group founded on blaming a black dude for a rape he likely did not commit while spending all subsequent time grifting with depravity and demanding that private citizens be silenced. I don't know exactly what story he's talking about there, but that's Sticks, Hex, and Hammer's take. So Forbes, right? Forbes tries to cover this, right? So how does Forbes try to cover it? Elon Musk promotes campaign to ban ADL while agreeing with raging anti-Semites. So who's the raging anti-Semite he agreed with? Do you want to know? Well, they had another guy, Alex Jones. No, sorry. They had this one guy, Woods. Doesn't matter who he is. But the other one they blamed is Scott Adams. So what did they say? Musk's relationship with far-right voices on X have gotten more attention ever since he purchased Twitter in October 2022 and made a number of changes to the platform. Musk has defended a number of racists, including Dilbert creator Scott Adams, when he advocated for racial segregation. Which was caused many major advertisers to become nervous about brand safety on the site. So what they're saying here is that Scott Adams, who currently has the #1 book on Amazon called Reframe Your Brain, right? Who apparently Americans still love despite being canceled by the Washington Post and all these other things. And if anyone follows him for 2 seconds, they know that this racial segregation story never happened. It never happened. He never said that, right? Never, ever. But he did get canceled. I'll let you look into it because it's an interesting story altogether. But imagine that they're going with their actual example in the Forbes magazine of the right-wing crazy people that Elon Musk is hanging out with is Scott Adams, the Dilbert cartoon guy. That's what they're going with, right? And they're saying that's why the advertisers don't want to go. So the guy with the biggest book on Amazon is also responsible for Americans not wanting to buy things on the platform. I think he's doubled his Twitter following since Elon bought the platform, right? So there you go. Machine breaking down before our eyes. But here's where it gets interesting. There's 2 stories that I'm going to talk about where it gets interesting here. The first is Mehdi Hassan, right? So we're going to see this machine and how it doesn't work, and then I'm going to explain where this is headed. So now this is clever. This is actually clever. So you hear all this stuff when Democrats are having to use their downloaded talking points that come from the fog of war machine. So when they get these points from the fog of war machine, one of the ones that's stumping their NPC brains is, and now we're all NPCs, right? Don't forget, we just have different stuff. So one of the things that has been stumping them lately, if you haven't noticed, I've noticed, I do it, right? Yeah, the Hunter Biden thing. They'll always say, "Oh, Hunter had some crimes, but what about the Trump family? Didn't they give trademarks to Ivanka? Didn't they give her trademarks?" You know what the process is to get a trademark? It's an email. Anyone gets them, right? You tell your lawyer, get me a trademark. It's like an online thing. So, oh, he got trademarks, right? Or she got trademarks. But here's a new one, right? So one of these other known liars, right? We know now known liars in the fog of war machine are not the same as people who get things wrong or lie from time to time, right? Or lie for their own account. The known liars, the ones like Adam Schiff or the ones like the one who was inheriting the Levi's fortune that we talk about sometimes, right? There's a few of these people. But the one that we see now is the Raskin guy, right? Raskin. He wears like I guess he had some cancer, so he's got to wear a thing because he doesn't have all his hair. So he's going to get a House Oversight Democrats are asking the GOP, the Republicans, to subpoena Jared Kushner's Saudi $3 billion fund deal. Now, here's what they're trying to get you to believe, right? And it's amazing. And it's pretty good. You got to give them credit, right? When they see all the money, Hunter being paid, right? They're trying to equivocate that with what Jared Kushner did, right? So Jared Kushner got a $3 billion public, transparent fund together to make money in America for Saudis. So they're saying that that is equivalent. A publicly filed, everyone knows about it. They had a press release. They had a press release. But of course, most people are too dumb, right? So they'll think it's the same, right? That most Americans can't distinguish between publicly disclosed investment fund and a secret money laundering influence scheme. They can't tell the difference. It's the same, right? It's the same, right? It's the same to some people. But with the fog of war machine breaking, fewer and fewer people will be confused by this. Remember, Jared Kushner put out a press release. Now, it's not pretty to see a son-in-law of a president getting money from a foreign country after they're in office and blah, blah, blah. But is he supposed to stop his business? I think he's allowed. He did this before. He made it public. No one's hiding anything. He can't actually advocate for public policy anymore. He's gone, right? They've arrested Trump 4 times. What kind of influence peddling are you going to give them? Right? The whole system is against you. What are you going to get from Jared Kushner if you're the Saudi? I mean, he knows people, but I think the Saudis know people too, right? Maybe he's just good at his job. Who knows, right? But nevertheless, the capacity for the fog of war machine to continue to confuse Americans this way, I think, is running out of steam, right? And this is one of those examples. But what does it mean for it to run out of steam, right? We're seeing that the NGOs, the ADLs, the journalists, all of these people that are creating the fake news, it seems like only one group are starting to really coalesce around the idea that the whole thing has to go. The whole thing is a smoke and mirrors machine. And that's our major advantage, right? So here's what we know about the last time this happened, right? So this is from Professor St. Onge, who we love, right? Professor St. Onge. Here's what he says: how to end the Fed. How to end the Fed, right? And he says, since America's founding, we have had 4 central banks. We shut down 3, 1 to go. The last was Andrew Jackson, a firebrand populist the elite hated as much as they hate Donald Trump. He's on the $10 bill in America. If you carry American, if you ever have American trash tokens, he is the face on the $10 trash token. So this is what he says: the central bankers fought back hard and they fought dirty. But this is the important part. But once the public understand exactly what central bankers do, once they saw past the smoke and mirrors, right? Once they saw past the smoke and mirrors, they demanded Congress abolish it. That day is coming, and Jackson gave us the roadmap. So here we are, right, at a point where the only thing holding up the fiat system is the smoke and mirrors. It is the projection. It is the broadcast of the system. It is this. It is the fog of war machine. It's not just the industrial war machine. It's not just the industrial censorship machine. Together, they form the industrial fog of war machine. And that's what was difficult, right? Because it manipulated people's brains. It got them to advocate for boneface Ukrainian people. Boneface, Nazis. That's where they went with this. But of course, it can't last. It can't last. Are the history books ever going to write stories about how Joe Biden and Boneface got together to save the world? No. Now, I agree. You could kill everyone and sort of start fresh, right? But it ain't going to work. It's not going to work. They got to kill Elon. They got to kill Vivek. They got to kill RFK. Forget about Trump. It's not him anymore, right? He's part of the story. He showed the way on a lot of this. But Bitcoiners are now squarely in the fight. And it's not a red and blue fight. It's not a pro-Trump fight. It is a fight against the industrial war machine and or the fog of war machine, or whatever you want to call it. And so the stage is being clearly set now, very clearly set for folks who continue to just look at the world and say, this is fine, right? It's no problem, right? I don't have a problem with all of this, right? It's okay. The fog of war machine is great, right? How much longer can these people compete against people who are wise to what's going on, who have an appropriate reaction for the type of manipulation that's going on? That's the fight we're in, right? We are in that fight. Now, how much longer? I don't know. Who can say? But this was a big weekend, and I thought there was I felt the pendulum swing, especially as I got online yesterday and started to look at what happened over the weekend. And amazing stuff, really amazing stuff. Maybe it's just the feeling of not being online a lot for a few days that propagated this. I'm not sure, but that's what I saw. So let me see some comments here. Oman with the win, talking about the mining rigs there. We love Oman, Muslim Bitcoiner. Let's see what Dan has to sell. He gets what he wants to make public all information. Yeah, Elon's gonna do great there. I can't wait for this. This is gonna be fun. New t-shirt time. New t-shirt design. Moscow time. Is it real or is it fake? You decide. That's good, Greg. I should make a Moscow time shirt. The shirts I should make are, it's not you, it's USD. Right? It's a good breakup theme. I don't know, we got a few. In my book, the Bitcoiners, what am I calling it? The Bitcoiners NPC Management Handbook. The Bitcoiners NPC Management Handbook. I call it toxic microdosing. Right? Toxic microdosing instead of toxic maximalism. It's toxic microdosing. It's tips on how to manipulate NPCs, and I use a lot of the. I've been slotting in a lot of the AI generated images over time that I've been using on this show. So I got a lot of good ones that help tell the story. So there you go. All right. Morning Bitcoiners, 0sum24. Yes, that might be it. 0sum24. I think that's it. Or no, maybe not. Oh, you were looking for it. No, that's what I was looking. There we go. Good morning, Bitcoiners. Bon matin tous. The board is back. Right? The board is back. We are winning, Jose. Buena dia, indeed. Make that board into a shirt, Rickster says. Yeah, it's a pretty good one, huh? Pretty good board today. Yeah, pretty good board. X-Files, yeah. Scott Adams is a G. Was it James Woods? Missed it on the James Woods part, Steve. I'm not sure the reference. Scott said Amazon stopped printing his book, out of stock. Yeah, I know. But it's doing so well. It's doing so well. Jackson's on the 20. Oh, yeah, of course he is. Yeah, of course. I knew that, Daniel. I knew that. I don't know why I made that mistake. I'm a little slow this morning. It's there's a practice thing to this. Doing it 3 days off like I did is not obvious skill levels. It is one of these like weightlifting things, right? It's a weightlifting thing. Ironically, Jackson took down the bank, but set the stage for the huge increase of power of executive that led to where we are now. Yeah, I'm doing a rereading of Lincoln in my life. I was a person who couldn't even look at a picture of Lincoln as a youngster because I loved him so much. Like I got like an actual emotional response to seeing pictures of Lincoln when I was young. But my opinions on him are changing. Not like necessarily negative, but I have a new understanding of why people would have opposed him at the time. And I even saw that quote this weekend of him saying, I would never free a single slave if it meant we could keep the Union preserved and have peace, versus General Lee, who said, I would free every slave in the Union if I was to avoid the war, right? So like not really a sense that people portray of the two protagonists. Have you checked out Nostr? So much, man. I'm on Nostr, Muslim Bitcoiner. We love Nostr. I'm an early Nostr guy. I publish this I do a link every day on Nostr. So I tweet this out every day with Nostr. I would love a shirt. Sun's up. Bitcoin is running. It's Moscow time. That's a pretty good one, P-Man Van. Yeah, I should get some t-shirts going. Bitboy. Yeah, I beat Bitcoin. Yeah, wait, come on, Bitboy. We don't love Bitboy Austin. I think, isn't he done now? Didn't he get caught like cheating on his wife or something? Isn't he like kicked out of Bit? I don't follow Bitboy crypto, by the way. I'm not a huge fan. I used to not mind the shtick, but he was so rude at Bitcoin 2023. He accosted Stacy, Max and Stacy, accosted her, so we had to boot him. Like he's a jerk. I didn't know he was that nuts. So canceled. Morning, guys. First day back at work after having COVID all last week. Bummer, Johnny. Yeah, a lot of COVID going around. There was COVID all over the place this weekend where I was partying with my friends. I'll probably get in the next couple of days. My wife's starting to get sick. So what are you going to do? Sorry to hear that, Johnny. Sorry to hear that. We love the likes. Let's do it. Let's do it. Austin asks, what's the deal with the drivetrains thing? Sounds pretty cool. Yeah, I'll do a drivetrains accosted an Unchained employee. Did he really, Jeffy? I didn't know that. Yeah, he's a train wreck. Yeah, he's a real train wreck. Yeah, like pretty bad. I mean, I don't think we banned him for life from the show because we just don't do that. Jefferson on the $2 bill. I love the $2 bill. Was sick also last week. Kicked its ass in the gym today. Yeah, I'm gonna go for a little hike today and get some sunshine and hit the gym as well. I missed the gym for a few days. Got a lot of swimming and fun stuff in, kid playing and stuff like that. What's up, BTC Plebsy? Good to see much of those who pushed mandates are now pretending that if you took the jab, the fog is lifting there, starting to see what they have done. Yeah, I love this. The one in New Zealand, the guy, they had a choice. He had a choice. Starve. Your choice was starve and die, right? What's up, Graffiti? Hope you're doing well, man. Hope you're doing well. All right, guys, that's what I got for today. A bit of a short one. Fired by his own company. Yeah, I think for the substance abuse stuff. Yeah, I don't know if he's allowed to use BitBoy anymore. Apparently, BitBoy was a name. And is like going parabolic owner of BitBoy Crypto? I don't even understand what's happening there. I couldn't get it. Did you watch The Burn? You mean Bernie Sanders or Burning Man? Did you watch The Burn last night? I did not watch The Burn. Yeah, of course Trudeau's. Yeah, they got a choice. No, I watched not a great Hollywood movie, but not as bad as I thought. A nostalgic tour. I did on. I haven't watched a movie in months. But I watched a superhero movie last night, Burning Man. Yeah, I did. I mean, it looks fine. I mean, I'm not. I think the Burning Man, to me, I started to have feelings that this was the. Remember how they took? Remember the most amazing thing about that submarine story, just like the UFO ones. Remember the submarine that imploded, and they knew it was imploded for a week. They literally took Americans' attention. Right. This is the fog of war machine. They took Americans' attention and dropped it at the bottom of the ocean. When that happened, right? They just went focus on the bottom of the ocean, and people did that. It's hypnosis, right? That's how it works. That's how you do it. That's what you would do, right? Go look at the bottom of the ocean. Take your brain to the bottom of the ocean. What I saw with Burning Man was something a little similar. Honestly, I saw the fog of war machine. Now I could be wrong. I was only sort of paying attention to it. But what I gather is most people only leave on Monday or Tuesday anyway, right? It's not like everyone rushes home. Sounds like some people had a good time. They're saying there's a outbreak, all this stuff. They're not telling you what's really going on. To me, that's fog of war. I mean, that was the fog of war machine. Now, I don't know. Maybe there's a new virus coming out of Burning Man. Maybe. I don't think so. I don't think the weather balloon. It's the weather balloon thing, right? So I did watch a little bit of the Burning Man, but I did not get caught up in it at all. Like I wasn't like, oh, what's going on at Burning Man, right? I was like, okay, we'll see. Like I'll give it a couple days before I bother. Yeah, whatever they push forward as a distraction, just another distraction. Yeah. That's what I saw. I mean, that's what I saw. So I didn't give Burning Man like I just laughed. I'm embarrassed to say I laughed even when news of tragedy happened. Don't ask me why. Not a good person, I guess. It was just another distraction. Yeah, someone read the news out loud yesterday about the electricity, and it's sad, right? I don't know. I'm not a Burning Man kind of guy, I guess. But yeah, not great. Yeah, good type of change and chaos. I feel like it was a big weekend, guys. But it could just be the effect of sort of being checked out for a few days and not paying attention to the fog of war machine at all. That when you come back in a few days, you're like, this thing's the stupidest machine ever. It doesn't even work anymore. Dumb thing. Can't put out any fog. Run dry. So that's what I saw. Yeah, and I was, Bitcoin graffiti. I honestly was. My first instinct today was to go with like a Wizard of Oz type of AI image about the fog of war and the illusions and all that. It was just too on the nose. It was just too clear. So I went with the with something a little different. But my mind was spinning with all kinds of Wizard of Oz stuff today. So we're there, guys. I think this is going to be the most amazing autumn we've ever experienced. That's what I think. I think, again, remember my prediction at the beginning of the summer. And this was, we talked about it before even the Richmond, north of Richmond, and the reaction video started. But I said we were about to experience a moment where more and more people were just going, are you kidding me? As that? And that whole thing runs exactly to what Professor St. Onge says, the smoke and mirrors machine that is necessary for the fiat model to function, right? The thing that propagates the fiat nodes is the information. They say it right in the name, fiat money. Fiat is declarations, it's words, right? And so that's what's happening. And that's what I see, right? So I think we're in for a year of just this. What more and more people, the Anti-Defamation League case, all of this stuff. I can't see it stopping. I just can't see any way in which it goes backwards from here. Now, it doesn't mean it gets prettier, but backwards is another story. Like, I can't imagine everyone going, oh, the same way they did, the same weakness that I think myself even showed, at the end of Trump's first presidency, and when they were, of course, I never fell for January 6th, but you had a feeling like we were going to go backwards, like people were going to, like the mess of January 6th forced people into a new, forced people back into the security of the known knowns of the fog of war machine. And I don't think that can happen again. January 6th did indeed worry me in the short term when it happened. It was such effective brainwashing, and they're getting better and better. So that we can't deny that. But I think we're in for a few months now of amazing revelations. And again, go check out that Latinos for Trump It's one of the best songs. I was listening to it all weekend. I think it's hilarious. It's a good song. Like you can play it in the club. It's like a club song, you know. Um, there was a line in it like when they hit you with the Rico, like I recognized I had something in common with you or something. So good, so good. All right, team. That's all I got for today. I'll see y'all tomorrow, and we'll back into it. Back of the start of the year, start of end of summer. A lot of fun stuff coming. See you tomorrow, team. Peace.